Go Bears. Beat the Packers.
Oh, come on. A little bit more conviction. American football. For many people in and outside of the US, it's more than just a sport. It's a passion shared by people of all ages, on and off the field. For 2022-23 Austrian Fulbright scholar Bernhard Weidinger, it's a sport he has loved and followed for many years. After he returned to Austria from his Fulbright stay at Northwestern University, we sat down to talk to him about the sport that's so near and dear to his heart.
Well, I grew up a soccer fan and got into football quite late, in my late 20s. I had been watching the Super Bowl before that, but then Austrian television started to broadcast the National Football League on a weekly basis. And that's when I really got into it. What drew me into football was the combination of elite athleticism on one hand and the intricacies of football tactics and strategy on the other, the schemes, the plays, the X's and O's, as they say. And so I guess I felt intellectually challenged by football in a way I never did with soccer. I think one of the first things you'll notice if you step on an American campus as an Austrian is that there's a much stronger sense of collective identity there, and also that universities systematically foster this sense of identity. And football is an important part of that. Of course, this differs geographically. There are some universities, I think, where football is much more important than others. Like if you go to, I don't know, Texas Tech or Louisiana State or Clemson, football is huge there, right? I mean, the universities that I was a visiting scholar at, UC Berkeley and Northwestern, also paid a visit to Yale, where I got this t-shirt. So at those universities, academic excellence is much more important for the collective identity of students and faculty. But in other places, football rules all. I mean, if you go to a game, the whole experience is very American, at least stereotypically American. Like you have the anthem sung before the game, you'll have maybe a flyover, then there's the Military Appreciation Month. I think it's not called that, but it's pretty much what it is. Maybe they'll have some veteran on the field at halftime and honor them. But I think there's also some distinctly American features about the game itself. Like, for example, in soccer, it is very common to have a game end in a draw. And in US sports, they don't like to see that. They'll have multiple overtimes to keep that from happening. And so it's also very rare. And I think that's because Americans like to see winners and losers. They like to see, stories of success and stories of failure. That is one thing I noted about football that I believe is distinctly American. I think there are some positives about sports for the colleges themselves. Like they foster collective identity, but also they may even put a college on the map nationally. Like when former NFL star Deion Sanders took over Jackson State, that put Jackson State on the map for a national audience, right? And of course, colleges use football and other sports to project success, to project excellence. At the same time, there's a lot of criticism, and I've encountered a lot of this criticism talking to people, to faculty, that universities pour too much money into these sports programs, specifically the football and to some degree the basketball programs. So the biggest earners at American universities are not some top-notch professors, but football coaches and basketball coaches. And so there is criticism that the money that universities pour into these sports programs is lacking elsewhere, for example, when it comes to pay graduate student workers or non-academic staff. Well, in general, I spend way too much time reading up on football, pre-game, post-game, watching the games. I steered clear of fantasy football so far because I knew that would be yet another, 10 hours a week wasted. But yeah, I did attend some tailgates while in the US. I remember going to a game, actually taking a trip up north from Chicago to Green Bay to watch the Bears-Packers game. And there, some Packers fan invited me over to his yard and offered me a beer, and we got to talking. And in general, I found that football is something that makes it very easy to bond with people. Like you see someone dressed in either your team's gear or the opposing team's gear, and that makes it easy to walk up to them, get to talk to them. So it's really a powerful social lubricant, if you will. Generally, in soccer here in Europe, the away team's fans will have their own sector in the stadium, so they'll be kept apart from the home fans, right? And that's not the case in the NFL. So in the NFL, you'll have the home crowd, but then you'll have these ticket resell platforms, and people will just buy the tickets there. And so you'll have the home crowd interspersed with away fans, and they'll sit side by side. And I mean, recently there have been some reports on growing violence in stadiums, like fist fights that broke out in stadiums, but that's usually not the case. So usually in the NFL, fans of the opposing teams will sit side by side. And like in my experience, I went to several games while I was there last fall, and I always had fun talking to the people that sat around me, Bears fans and fans of the other team alike. I mean, actually, it's not just the universities that make a lot of money off these players, but also like the merchandise industry and the broadcasters and the sports media. And so a lot of money is being made based on the play, based on the efforts of these guys, right, that are not compensated. And of course, there's always been the argument that they are being compensated through athletic scholarships. They can attend, or at least many of them can attend school for free in exchange for the services, which also allows people from underprivileged social backgrounds to receive a higher education that would otherwise maybe not have access to it. But still, that's not a real compensation for putting basically their lives on the line, or at least their health on the line. I mean, football is a very violent sport, and a lot can happen. You can like one injury can end your career or worse. So there has long been this debate about compensating players, and then there was this Supreme Court decision in 2021, so only recently, that now allows players to basically get endorsement deals. In pro football, I root for the Chicago Bears. In college football, I follow the teams of the universities that I was a visiting scholar at, namely the California Golden Bears for Berkeley, so Bears once again, and the Northwestern Wildcats. I don't really care much for the mascots, to be honest. I do find that a little bit, childish. However, I did get my picture taken with Willie the Wildcat while at Northwestern, and I hold the picture in high regard. I actually think it's a positive development. I remember going to Nuremberg and visiting this ground where the Nazis used to hold their the party celebrations, festivals, and I was quite happy to see that there's now an American football field there. And this, I think, is Americanization, like in the best and most positive sense of the word.